And just so you know, there is some information at the exit. So as you leave your name badge, you can pick that up. Also, they will provide me with a file for today's program so that you can look at it as a PowerPoint on your own.
Very good. Thank you for the opportunity to allow Mary and I here to talk a little bit about.
You have to keep it kind of close.
Okay, to talk a little bit about Caregiver Appreciation Month. And we've focused on that at Vine this month with a couple special events. We had a Caregiver Day of Renewal that was, well, it was not a day, it was a couple hours, because caregivers, as you know, if you're a caregiver, really, it's hard to take a full day away. So we had a couple hours where caregivers could kick back and just kind of renew. And that's one of the important parts of being a caregiver is just taking care of yourself. So we'll focus on that. And then the program that I have primary responsibility for is the Pearls program, which is program to encourage active, rewarding lives. And I'll talk about that at the end. But we'll start off with talking a little bit about caregiving. And I'll start with Vine's mission. Vine Faith in Action promotes quality of life and a culture of caring, sustained by volunteerism, community engagement, and support for neighbors in need. So I will turn it over to Mary and she can talk about, talk more.
Yeah. Okay, so I wonder if any of you are familiar with Rosalind Carter's quote that there are only 4 kinds of people in the world: those who have been caregivers, those who are currently caregivers, those who will be caregivers, and those who will need a caregiver. And that's pretty accurate from our side of the world. I'm a long distance caregiver myself for my parents who live 2 hours away, and my mother has Alzheimer's. My dad's 89 and my mom's 86, and I'm an only child, so I'm it. And we've had some crises come up with my dad. He had a really bad case of shingles this last summer, and when that happens and he's in the hospital, I bring my mom home with me. And it was real evident this time that she had progressed since the last crisis we had, which was a couple years ago. She really progressed with her Alzheimer's. And it was very difficult to have her be out of sorts and not at home. And they live in a 2-story house and we live in a ranch. And she was asking, where are the stairs so that I can go to bed? And she could not remember where the bathroom was. And all of those things, you have to think on your feet or try to come up with something that might work. And even if it works one time, or even 2, it might not work the 3rd time. So at Vine, we try to be there for our caregivers and walk that journey with them when they need us. If they just need to call and vent, or if they just need to talk to somebody, we're there for them. Glenda and myself are licensed social workers, and we have one other person, Joyce Colvin, who is also on our Live Well at Home team. And all of us are community living coaches or caregiver coaches. And so that is our job, is to be there for those who are caregivers. If you're not, as Glenda said, if you're not healthy yourself, you can't be a good caregiver because it takes so much out of you. So what some of our programs are at Vine is we have a caregiver support group that meets 2 times a month from 1:30 to 3. And we have one in Mapleton also, because we want to hit the rural areas, and that is very well attended. We had the Caregiver Renewal experience. We also try to have a speaker at least once or twice a month for specifically for caregivers, but it can be for anyone. What else? We are having, in December, we'll be having a memory cafe, which is for the caregiver and the person who has a chronic progressive illness to just come together. It's an hour and a half, I think. An hour. Just to do something together, like an art project, or just to visit and get to meet other people that are caregivers. So we try to do a lot of different things. Am I missing? 3 out of 4 employees are caregivers of a child, a friend, a neighbor, or a parent. And some of these, if you have any influence at all, and you're still working, please let employers know how important it is when somebody is a caregiver. I can't tell you the number of people I've had come in my office just in tears, saying my boss says if I miss one more day of work, he's gonna fire me. And I'm the only one that can take my mom to the doctor. Or I'm the only one that can, watch her. So caregiving is really not understood well. And the statistics just keep going up about the people that are caregivers. And most of the time, people that are caregivers don't identify themselves as that. If you pick up a prescription for your mom, that makes you a caregiver. Or if you mow the lawn for a great aunt, that's part of caregiving. That enables them to stay in their home. That enables them to continue living the life as long as they can, as they're used to. What are you going to say?
Pick up groceries.
Oh yeah, do you pick up groceries for your parents, or do you take food over to them? There's just so many little things that you might do when you don't even think anything of it, but it does. You are a caregiver. Okay, yeah, there's another statistic. Yeah, 1/3 of employees leave a job due to their caregiver responsibilities when they can't juggle both things anymore. And the workforce gap left by retiring employees, as we know, is already pretty large. And it's too large to be filled with younger people as it is. So lots of food for thought.
We could keep the caregivers in the workforce.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just said we need to keep the caregivers who are in the workforce in the workforce. And just another statistic, I'm a statistic nerd. And so AARP says that 1 in 5 adults is a caregiver. And that's a total of 53 million Americans who are now unpaid family caregivers. And then 23% of those caregivers that were in this research said that caregiving has made their health worse. So all of those things coupled together, dealing with the workforce, and a lot of caregivers are sandwich generation. So they're caring for younger family members and then older family members working, and they have a lot on their plate.
You want to go and talk about pearls, or did I forget anything?
Let's see. Well, I think I would just add, family caregiving is more intensive, complex, and long-lasting than in the past. People are living longer. Science in healthcare has all kinds of treatments for people. And so folks are living longer lives, and therefore have caregivers for a longer period of time. And a body of evidence suggests that many caregivers experience negative psychological effects as part of their caregiving. And some caregivers are at higher risk than others, especially those that spend long hours caring for older adults with advanced dementia. It's a real challenge. Caregivers should have access to high quality evidence-based interventions designed to mitigate or prevent adverse health effects. So the program that I coach, Pearls, again, that's a program to encourage active, rewarding lives, is a national evidence-based program which coaches older adults age 65 and older who are having symptoms of depression. And we've had some caregivers participate in the Pearls program. It's been very effective for them. They have found ways to care for themselves, to better care for their loved ones. They have found some unique solutions to some of the challenges that they've faced as caregivers. So I've found that it's a really good program for anyone who's a caregiver. That being said, it's a good program for anyone who's an older adult and having some depressive symptoms. We've had really good results. We've graduated several people out of the program now. The program lasts a short duration. It's not therapy. It is problem solving based and behavioral activation. And it lasts about 6 months with about 8 or 9 sessions. And in that time, each visit, the participant focuses on problem-solving treatment, and the behavioral activation is physical, social, and activities that bring you joy. And that, again, is all science-based. So if you're feeling poorly and having depressive symptoms, a lot of times you stop doing the things that you were doing before, and then you feel worse, and that exacerbates the depressive symptoms. And so this program focuses on what can you do in the here and now, and works at, taking steps, can-do steps to help people move forward. And so by the time they've finished the 6 months and they are able to graduate the program, they have a good sense of, okay, this is what I can do when I'm starting to slip and feel poorly. In a nutshell, that's about it. Every week we measure, we use a PHQ-9, which is a depression scale. And so we measure how they're doing. And that also helps focus sometimes on maybe a certain symptom that's a problem, and maybe they haven't even identified that. Did I cover it pretty well?
You did. Do you want to, can you give an example of what someone did?
Well, sure. I'll give you a caregiver example. And then I see there's a question. So I love questions. I had a caregiver come and they were so frustrated because oftentimes what happens when you're a caregiver is people see only a little snapshot of what life is like for this person you're caring for. And so they might think, oh, Sam is doing really well. And in reality, they might be taking the lawnmower apart and not able to put it back together, or going outside and tripping and falling, and all kinds of problems. And so this person said, I don't want to be negative and say, go down this laundry list of things that are happening. And so what this person came up with was that they would tell people, my loved one's doing as well as can be expected, and I'm doing the best that I can. And that kind of opened the door for them. Then if somebody wanted to ask a question and they could clarify, they could do that. So that's just a tiny example of one of the things that person worked on, but it was very beneficial for them and really helped move them forward in making some big strides in feeling better. So there was a question.
Yeah, you talked about having your caregivers that are involved in the workforce. Does Vine advocate with businesses in the community, or do they hold informational sessions for businesses in the community that they have a workforce comprised of people that take care of someone?
We have not done that so far, but we have had a lot of discussion about that just recently about.
Can you repeat what the question was?
Okay, so the question was, does Vine advocate in out in the workforce, especially for employers that we know have folks who are caregivers? And right now, we do not do that. We focus more on supporting the caregiver in that situation and maybe giving them some ideas on, how they can advocate for themselves or who they can contact that would be helpful. But we have had a lot of discussion about, where do we fit in all of this?
I have more of a statement than a question. I know Mary very well. My husband is age 60 and my own stepmom that lost most of his cognition a month after retirement. And it took us to a complete crazy man and for several years. And we moved to Mankato and I joined this support group, and I can't say enough about how much the support group did for me and in turn that did for my children. Because it puts you in a place, the situation puts you in a place that nobody really knows how to. And the journey is long and it turns out difficult, sad, and the general public just, doesn't understand. So it does completely change your life. It changes the direction of all of your life. And this kind of support is huge. And it made a world of difference for me, and I know the other people that are in the support doing the same. So
Thank you for those kind words, Sue. With your question about businesses, if anyone is part of an employee situation where that would be something that Vine could do, where we could come and talk, over lunch or whatever, we would be really glad to do that. I think the hesitation is, where do we start with this? Where do we go? So if any of you have contacts or ideas of what would be helpful, we would really appreciate that. Yes.
I would just comment as a business, my niece is kind of going through this right now, and as a business, the FMLA is really the thing we should be promoting, because it's there to protect the employee, so they can also keep their job.
Yes.
And the company she works for has been very good. I'm sure that sometimes isn't the case, but most times I hope we're all pretty good on it. But I think that is something most they don't know about.
Yes. Yes. Great. Thank you. Right.
I was just gonna ask Glenda, if you can go through some of the things that people in the Pearls group have brought to your meetings with them, and how many of them might be pandemic related, how that might affect how you can work through those things. These just specific examples always helps highlight what the services help with.
Yeah, well, the the pandemic, I think, has affected a lot of people. And yes, it really has, it has had an impact on a lot of people's mental health. And so people who were once active obviously pulled back when things were closed or, just missed opportunities. And so trying to think of some specifics. One person who was very active prior to the pandemic, as a result, really slipped physically. And when they came, had poor balance and, oh gosh, was in really bad shape. And so started walking, just walking around the block. Mind you, this person is in their 80s and they did jog running or jog walking, and lengthy jaunts in town. And so little by little, one of the things on the person's route, they went along the wall on Riverfront and always, took in the scenery there. And so one way that the person began to re-immerse themselves was just to go a short distance along that wall and to stop and take in the river. And again, just started walking. And then eventually, when this person graduated, they're back to jog walking. They're doing Tai Chi Quan at Vine for balance, to keep their balance up. Really immersed themselves, and it was just beautiful to see. Started associating with family again, and some people have had to identify, how can I do that safely? How can I connect with folks, stay connected, and still do it safely? And so they've problem solved on that. One thing I would point out is all the problem solving does not come from me. Really, I listen to what people are saying, and that's why this program is so effective. It comes from their own solutions. And so I hear what they're saying, and I'm taking notes usually. And then we pull all that together and they come up with these brilliant solutions. And so, when it's your own solution and you're doing it in little increments, it turns into a great big thing in the end. So.
And otherwise, there are just other life changes I'm sure that folks of that age are going through.
Oh, I had one person who cried the entire first session. And the second session, they cried about half of the session and felt that they have always felt inferior. And so this person emailed me not too long ago and said, in my 70 years, this is the best I've ever felt. I do know now that I am a worthy person, and it's all because of the work they did, focused on what their specific problems were. So it was fantastic.
Any other questions?
Is there a fee for the service that you provide?
Excellent question. Yes, it's free. It's free. We have a grant that from Department of Human Services that in part pays for this to be at Vine. So it's a beautiful gift that we're able to bring to the community. Yes.
Speaking of reimbursement, when you mentioned that you don't have a social work background, are you being paid by Vine, or is that for volunteer?
Oh, no.
We're employees.
others?
I did leave some flyers for pearls on the table where you turn your badges in. So if anyone's interested in taking a flyer, please do that.
All right, well, thank you very much. A great service that is provided there. As senior citizens, many of you know, life changes every day, whether you're retiring from a job, if you have a spouse or friends or family members who are passing away, and I can only imagine the multiplication of those life events that happened during the pandemic when many folks were not tech savvy. They were not aware at all of how to maintain communication with family and friends and really needed that opportunity to get together and provide what Mary and Glenda and basically everybody down at Vine provides, which is many times is an ear to find out what's going on. Sometimes we just, like Glenda said, sometimes they can work it out on their own, but if they don't sit down and concentrate on it first, those options don't even come about. So I'm going to stop promoting them even further, but if you have any opportunities, please participate with Vine. 387-1666 is the general phone number down there. So, all right, well, thank you all for coming. I know that next week we are expecting to hear from Dr. Andrew McNamara from Orthopedic and Fracture Clinic. I think he has spoken in the past. I know I've heard him a couple of times down at Vine. He's usually speaking a lot about, well, bones. Imagine that, from Orthopedic and Fracture Clinic. But something that I know I've been dealing with a lot, and all of us are as well. So thank you all for coming. Thank you all who have been involved in Kiwanis Holiday Lights in the kickoff. And we've got a long ways to go, folks. So if you have that opportunity, certainly bring family down there when you've got them in town and let them participate in a wonderful community event that is Kiwanis Holiday Lights. All right, well, what do you think, Doc? Do you want to send us off? When Kiwanis calls, bye. When Kiwanis calls, let everyone stand up. When Kiwanis calls, let everyone raise their up. And gather round the table and come to be our able. Pledge to be our loyalty. And Kiwanis calls. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week. Thanks, Mary. Good to see you all on Zoom.